All right, everybody, come on in. Come on in. Thank you all so much for being here. All right, everybody. Happy belated Thanksgiving. Happy, let's say, what would we say? Black Friday Eve? No, Black Friday. I don't know. Welcome back to another episode of The Wives Club. We are The Wives Club, created by the late, great Kevin Samuels. In 2021, I booked a session with Kevin because I wanted to create a community of like-minded and marriage-minded women. Even though he is gone, his message still lives on. So we are here with you all every week to talk about our response to his content as former, future, and current wives. So today we are going to be responding to an episode called Men's Week 2023. It was a shorter one. I'm only talking about the first part of this. It was like a compilation. I highly recommend that you all take a look at the entire episode. As always, it is linked in the comments. I'm sorry, linked in the description, and you all can let us know your comments. But this was about a topic that Kevin Samuels used to talk about a lot, the topic of the high value man. And it was quite polarizing. People have a lot of opinions about it, but I'd love to give our response as ladies in the community, because I believe the older women should teach the young. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with it. All right, so we have Lisa in the house. Lisa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa. I am a current wife of 18 years. Happy to be back. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving with your loved ones and families. And I'm ready to get this party started.
All right, and we've got Hermisha in the house. Hermisha, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. Hi, everyone. It's been a minute since I've been back on. I'm Hermisha. I represent as a former wife and happy to be back.
Okay, so you all can sit back and relax. We are going to take our laps around. The agenda is in the description, and we have 6 points that I'd like to respond to as women based on Kevin Samuel's definition of a high value man. And regardless if you have a high value man, a Henry, a hit squad, I know all men bring value. And I really think that these characteristics show up and are important to all men. And I want to talk about that and why we as women should care about them. All right. So the first one on his list, money, 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 money. Kevin Samuels had a definition for the high value man. I think it was $10,000 a month for at least 3 years. So that would put you in the $120,000 annual salary. And he used to say in like Atlanta dollars or Houston dollars or something like that. And that just means if you live in New York or California or someplace where the cost of living is very high, you would need to adjust accordingly. Why should we care? It's not necessarily about the dollar amount, ladies, but when choosing a mate, which I think is probably the biggest decision that all of us are going to make, if you believe in traditional relationships like we do here, you do want to choose a man or be chosen by a man who is fully capable of taking care of himself. Now, a lot of times women get the provider label confused with he's going to give me all the things that I want. And that's not it at all. If you do make 6 figures, you know that that just means that, you can pay your bills. But you're not living a very lavish lifestyle. I forget where the description originated from, but $10,000 a month in most cities when you live in a home and you have 2 vehicles and kids in school and activities and fees and all that, you all know it goes away very quickly. That's why a lot of us have second jobs or side hustles or whatnot. But ultimately, the bottom line and what I think we ladies need to understand, even if we love somebody, even if we really like him or want for him, if a man cannot take care of himself, meaning he is independent, he is paying his own bills and then some because he's expected to provide for a family, I don't think he would be a good candidate for mate selection. So those are my thoughts on the money aspect of it. Lisa, I'll come to you. What would you say?
I like how he broke the money aspect down because even for women, I don't think, well, especially for women, I don't think we fully understand what all that, but the way he broke it down for men is as well, because I think at the end he had a caller who just seemed kind of not really sure how to address it or knowing what he wanted. So I thought the way he broke down the money and um, especially for the high value guy was great. I would have liked to hear how. I think he did describe the Henrys and the hit squad as well. I don't know as much as the money part, but whether you got a man that's a Henry or hit squad or anything, you got to respect the way he makes money. And I thought the way, whether it's a high value, making whatever Ken was talking about, or building up towards that, it's a process, and you just got to respect the process that the man has to go through. So I thought that was a great point as well.
All right, I'll come to you, Hermisha. What are your thoughts?
All right. On the money aspect, I just appreciate how he always kind of flushes out that number one, he never originated with the term, or he wasn't the originator of the term high value man, and that it starts with your money in terms of making a certain amount of income, 6 figures or more at a certain period of time, more than 3 years. I think he said at least 5 years. So, that is the standard in terms of when we look at the marketplace. And, the way I look at all of this in the big umbrella is how we increase our value. So he's talking to men on how to increase their value. And obviously for us as women, it's a little bit different, but at least on the money piece, the only point I had was just that, men who are competitive and who know the type of lifestyle they want to have for their family, for their wives, and want to be influential in their communities and their jobs, that's the bar, depending on where you fall. So if you want to be considered high value according to the definition, it does start with your income, and it starts with a certain period of time of making that income consistently. And that's just not something that Kevin came up with, but just the marketplace.
Fantastic. All right. So I see you guys coming in the chat. Let's see who we have here. We got just another Mark saying, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Always good to see you here. Erin Laura says, good evening, ladies in chat. I hope you all had a lovely Thanksgiving. You as well. We have Sister Camilla. My first time seeing you here. I don't know if I'm saying it right or if it's Camila. She says, I agree, Maggie. Thank you so much. I'll do a little bit of explaining, because I know we always have people who may be listening for the first time. And we have Aaron Dalton saying, hi, not sure how I came across this. Where are y'all from? Well, welcome, Aaron. I'm so happy to have you here. We're all on the East Coast of the United States, and I see you're from the UK. It must be either very early or very late for you. So again, if you all don't know what we're talking about, I've put the link that we are responding to in the description so you can watch it. It's really just about the first 10, 15 minutes of this video. And like Hermisha said, Kevin Samuels did not come up with the term high value. I think it actually originated maybe in the 80s. He just added some context behind it in a way that was easy for all of us to understand. Now, why is this important? And again, it's not about the number per se, because this is something that a lot of men used to challenge him on. Well, why do you have to make 6 figures? You don't have to do anything. You can be whoever and however you want to be. But one of the things that I thought was the genius about Kevin Samuels is he understood how the dating market has changed. I'll be 48 next week. Those of us that are a little bit older remember, and I was married at 25 to my college boyfriend. And I always tell you all here, got married young, loved being married, had a traditional upbringing, but I got caught up in some of that modern woman mindset. We're equal, men and women can do everything men can do, until I hit the wall 10 years and 2 kids later. And I realized, you know what? I don't want that burden for life. So since the divorce, it's amicable. We co-parent now. I'm in another relationship, and in my second relationship with a very traditional man, which means I've had to do a lot of work to get on the program. So what does that mean, ladies, especially young ladies? Kevin Samuels realized that the dating market has changed. It is not as often now where a woman will take her prime years, which is her 20s, early to mid 20s, find a young man and build and grow together. He used to call that the IKEA marriage, right? Neither of us have anything, but we're going to build a life together. More often than not, for whatever reasons are, women now expect men to be established before they get on their program. It just is what it is. So he was talking to men, basically saying, okay, young bucks, listen to me. In order for you to have the pull, in order for you to have the leverage, in order for you to command the respect that you really should inherently have just because you are a man, unfortunately, in the dating market now, it doesn't work out that way. So these are the things that are going to be important for you to put yourself in that category where women are going to be more willing to get on your program. So that's the context here. All right. So I just wanted to explain it from a woman's perspective. And again, not necessarily a stickler for the dollar amount, but ultimately I'm saying, ladies, don't waste your time with a man who is not able to even take care of himself, because how is he going to be able to provide for you and a family? And even if you're young and you think, oh, it's okay, it's 50-50, listen to someone who's bumped their head and skinned their knee. You will naturally slow down. And as I approach 50, I'm so glad that I realize that there are different roles in relationships. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, everyone, let's go into number 2 on Kevin's list. So we talked about money, and Hermisha already talked about this one. Number 2 was the length of time. And what does that mean? So there's the dollar amount that a man needs to make, and it could be different for your city. If you're in the middle of a small town in the Midwest and things are very affordable there, you can probably raise a family on well underneath that. But if you live in San Francisco or New York, you all get what I'm saying. You're just going to have to adjust it for your area. Okay, so the length of time. So what Kevin Samuels was talking about with this one is that not only does a man need to have ability to support himself and a family one time in a row, as we say, he needs to have a track record of success, ladies. When you are dating a man, I believe the purpose of dating is to see, are we a suitable match for marriage or long term? I realize that there's lots of different relationships out here, and sometimes people want something casual. That's fine, do you. But if you're really looking at relationships, you want to make sure that you are vetting just like you are being vetted, because this is someone that you want to be able to happily submit to. So he needs to have whatever that dollar amount is to provide for a family for a length of time. Why do we care? It shows stability, ladies. It shows that this is someone who is diligent. This is a man that is hardworking. This is a man that, whether he feels like it, whether he's hungry, whether he's tired, whether he's in a good mood or a bad mood, he understands the responsibility and the mantle that he carries as head of household, and he's going to go out there and get it to bring back and take care of the family. And whatever that looks like, again, whatever that dollar amount is, does he have a track record of doing that over time? This is one of the reasons why, young ladies, I say, when you extend your hot girl summers or waste time with men who aren't marriage material, you're really hurting yourself, because you need to be just as diligent about vetting as he is. So you want to look for signs of someone who is consistent. Has he weathered good and bad economic times, different jobs, submitting to, people at work, or maybe he's an entrepreneur? Can you look back on his past and see, okay, you know what? He didn't just get a certificate and, lottery winner, and now, I'm ready. He has really been mastering his craft. And you can see that, because that's going to show up in other areas of your life, in your relationship, in your marriage. When the chips are down, you need to know that you have chosen a man that you can depend on. That's what I wanted to say about the length of time aspect. All right, Lisa, I'm going to come to you. What would you say to that one?
All right, for the length of time, I like the way he talked about the length of time too, and I like the way he kind of broke it down. For He broke it down for the hit squad, the high earners, and the Henrys. Um, and just know, ladies, it depends on what you're looking for. If you want to be married at 20, early 20s, before you hit the wall and all that, then you got to decide: do I want to be an IKEA wife? Perhaps, maybe not, but which is kind of like you meet him and maybe y'all fresh out of college and stuff, and he's working his way up, but he's done something, like maybe he served in the military and he's kind of got some. This is just my example, y'all, because y'all know this is what I talk about, military and stuff. But he's got some establishment in the military. He was consistent. He did his 4 years. Now he's working in his trade and he's moving on up, like Kevin was talking about. Or are you going to wait until he's in his 30s, mid 30s, when he's, grind and done the work? And if you're in your 20s, so you're looking at an older man. And there's no right or wrong about it, because I married someone young, IKEA, and we just built from there. But the one thing I did know, and my dad verified that, he's like, he's served his time. He's in a good field. This field makes money, and you can do it everywhere. So another reason I'm saying all that, because Kevin had a great episode when he was talking to ladies, saying, you didn't know what these men do, and the steps they, you can't just discount the plumbing guy or these regular guys around town, because who knows where he got his experience or training or certificate or whatever, and what that could lead to if he manages his money well, or he has someone like you doing his accounting or whatever, and y'all go from there. But he gives great examples, and that's one thing I do love about Kevin. He breaks it down and gives great examples. Because, like I said, for the money one, I was kind of clueless. It's kind of new news to me, and I was like, you know what? I didn't really know much about how much you need to make. I didn't really think about that. It wasn't important to me. But as I became a wife, or as I, referred to my dad and other people in my life, it makes more sense. And the stuff that Kevin is saying, it kind of echoes back to what I was taught. And even if you don't have a man in your life or something like that, and you're learning this stuff now, it's good to know going forward, because y'all know what I say. I always want to be ahead of the competition. And this is great info to do so. I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much, Lisa. All right, Hermisha, what would you add?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that when we're looking at the length of time, you're really looking at the character of the man. Is he disciplined? Is he stable? Is he consistent in his work? Is he growing? Is he someone who is complacent? Right? So these are sort of roadblocks, or maybe a framework, but at the grand scheme of things, Kevin was parsing out the character traits of a man that you will want to lead you. And that's why, again, that length of 5 years working a consistent high paying job, or just a consistent job, or you just a floater and you're here every 6 months, and every year you have a new position. That's not going to sustain a family. And so, granted, there's seasons that marriages go through, relationships go through, but at the end of the day, you're looking at the core of this man demonstrated in his work ethic, because that's going to give you an idea of the type of leader this man is, the type of perseverer this man is, and what he does under pressure. Does he stay stuck? Does he push through and rise? Do you see his character rise, the core of that man, when trials come, right? So some of these frameworks are really giving you an idea of the type of man you want to select to lead you.
I love that. And we'll move on to number 3. I just want to respond to something that Lisa said, and then also give the definition and see what you all are saying in the chat. In case you all are not familiar with Kevin Samuels' content, he used to break men and women into different categories. But since we're responding to Men's Week, the high value man was kind of the upper income bracket. So you're thinking like 120,000 and higher. And then he had a term. He called it Henry. It was an acronym for high earner, not rich yet. And if I remember, that was in the 70s and 80s to that, 6-figure salary. So somebody who's upwardly mobile and on their way. And then he had the HIT squad, which was the HIT, the Henry in training. And that just meant he used to call them the young bucks, right? Kids right out of school or right out of the military making 40, 50, 60, those starting salaries until they're, on their way to being a Henry. And again, this is not about the numbers per se. As a boy mom, 2 teenagers, 14 and 16, and one is on his way to the military, after high school. All men have value. So I want to make sure I'm clear about that. And all of these qualities, even though Kevin Samuels used this to describe what made a high value man, I think all of these qualities apply no matter if you're, marrying young to someone in the HIT squad or someone who's, a little bit more established as a Henry. The high value man is a very small segment. And most of us, I always say, I'm average, happily average. We all usually gravitate towards what's familiar to us. So hopefully that's clear. So what Lisa said about not really thinking about the numbers, ladies, it was always fascinating to me. Kevin did a really good job about this. You remember how he would ask women, okay, you want to get married? Yes or no? How many kids do you want? Yes or no? What kind of life do you want to live in? Those of you all who had seen him kind of do this, we knew where he was going with it, right? He was asking, do you want to be able to travel internationally? Do you want to live in a house in the suburbs? Do you want your kids to go to college? And of course, the women, me included, were like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Oh yeah, I'll have that. And then he would say, how much does a man need to make to be able to afford this magical lifestyle? And the ladies would say, I don't know, $500,000. Like the level of I'll say naivety and almost ignorance and I'll say we collectively, women, had or have about what it costs a man to provide the life that you just kind of dream about. I thought Kevin was a master at showing all of us we really don't know how much this stuff adds up to. So, humbly, we all need to kind of check ourselves. Does this mean that you need to suffer, in a relationship? No, but I think gratitude and awareness about the cost and what a man has to do to provide that goes a long way. Let's see what y'all are saying in the chat. Excuse me, Sister Camilla says, I married a broke man from Africa, and that was the worst mistake of my life. I wish I watched YouTube earlier. Well, I'm sorry. We all have mistakes and regrets, but wherever that person is from, ladies, hopefully you're seeing the red thread here. Don't let how can I say this delicately? Remember, Kevin used to say, often we pick the man who makes us tingle. Don't make life decisions based on emotion. I really want us to try and think, even though we are emotional creatures, to try and think more logically. Is this man husband material? And what does that mean? Because whether or not he's American or from another country, we women can sometimes find ourselves carrying more of a load than we want to if we don't choose wisely. Rodney says, yes, looking for signs of masculinity and maturity. Yeah, hopefully you all are picking that up. So the money and the length of time, you can translate that to his work ethic and his character. Rodney says, judge a tree by his fruit. Men should be judged the same way, like a tree, by marriage-minded women. Agreed. Ladies, we are being vetted, but we should do vetting as well. I've heard someone say it's almost like a job interview. And this is the man that you are choosing to lead you. So take it seriously. Oh, Kevin Samuel's interrogation techniques were surgical. Yeah, y'all remember that. And we've all made mistakes. They provide us with learning and teaching opportunities. And that is what we do here. We are the older women teaching the young. So it's okay. We will all get better. Okay, number 3, and he had 6. So we're halfway. This was acceptance to the group. Now, what does that mean? So Kevin was talking about, for high value man, I would argue for any man, it's important that his peers look at him with respect and include him in their group. Why should you care, ladies? Kevin used to talk about the lone wolf. Like he would say, you can't be high value and homeless. He also used to talk about, the lone wolf or the rogue, or I forget his terms, but men are not like, how we women are like, we have girl groups and we're chatting and all the details. Men are not like that, but men do need like the wolf pack. That's what he used to call it. Men need that wolf pack around them to kind of check them. If you watch boys, if you watch even males out in the animal kingdom, and I just know this as a boy mom, there's a time in their life where they're always kind of testing the fence, right? They're kind of poking the bear. They want to see, okay, you're old Mufasa, but I think I can take you, until Mufasa roars and they're like, okay, I was just kidding. This is part of the natural pecking order, if you will, of male and men development. And it's very important, ladies. I would make sure that the man that you're choosing has whether it's some blood brothers or, brothers in the military or co-workers or childhood friends, and look at the caliber of these men. If he is the brightest star in his circle, and his social circle are friends from, back in the day that ain't about nothing, that may not be a great sign. I'll just share, with my man, he's constantly seeking out mentors who are more advanced than him, whether it's investing or when he was going up for VP, he had a mentor to help like groom him for executive coaching. So just that acceptance in the group, that wolf pack, I think it says a lot about men in all levels. All right, Lisa, what would you add to that?
Yes, I would echo everything you said. I would say, yeah, because, watching my dad growing up, my dad's big in fraternities and, oh Lord, I don't know, whatever, all kind of fraternities and other stuff. I can't even name it, or it's all secret societies. But my dad was big with that, so I grew up with all that and going to picnics and conventions. My parents would always go on these stuff like that, and so I saw that in my dad being in the military and stuff, and then even with my husband now, I see the same thing. Like my husband has like a lot of friends from the military. Like when we first met, he had tons of friends, and when he started going to school and furthering his education, you know, it's just different levels. Like during his life, like some people would just be like, I'm just whatever, or high school people and stuff, but it just levels up. It seemed like every few years he had a different sector of people, and also depending on where we lived and stuff. But the one thing that remained true, and I look back at, you know, when I was younger with my dad and the stuff he did and the stuff my husband did, I'm like, God, you know, and listening to Kevin, I'm like, he's so right about so much stuff. And when you start thinking about it, he's like, I found someone like my father who kind of moves in the same circles, manly and all that. But it's just like, you do what you know, and hopefully what you know, if you know what you know is good. But the fact that my husband's always been in circles and he continues to do so, like now later in life, he decided to join a fraternity. So now that's our big circle. And I'm just like, I'm just down for it. And I watch, but I do enjoy it too. Cause I was like, oh, this is what my parents used to do. Now I'm going to balls and stuff. So it kind of feels like full circle for me. But what Kevin was saying, I see that now. And again, I think it's important because maybe if you didn't grow up with a father or have figures in your life that do this, you might not be aware. And then you're trying to be somebody's new wife. You're like, well, why are you always going to these meetings, or what's so important? But when you realize that the fellowship is what they need, my dad had all daughters and my brother was the youngest. So he needed that male fellowship. And that's why he was part of all kind of stuff. And my husband, he grew up with all brothers, but because his brothers have moved around, you know, he needs to keep his own fellowship with other men. He needs that. Of course, I couldn't. Men just need what they need, and they just need the fellowship. So I'll just leave it at that. But it's good for them. So I'll leave it there.
Absolutely. All right, Hermisha, what would you add to that?
Yeah, you know, this is really, really important. You know, when I met with Kevin, this quote stood out to me so powerful. He said, "An isolated man is a dangerous man." Now, we all need community, but especially for a man. And you know what I'm learning and seeing, a lot of our men are isolated, or a lot of our men, they're doing life alone, right? They may have groups, but they're and not everyone, but from my observation, struggle to find their wolf pack at times, their people, their bros that they can really be vulnerable with. You know, there's a lot of men who do desire to be vulnerable, but need safe spaces for that. There's a lot of that for us as women. We naturally sort of converse among each other and whatnot, but I'm just, you know, I've just been observing that our men are hurting for community where they can really just bring their full authentic self. And so at least when Kevin said that to me, you know, there are men who are in situations where they are intentionally isolating themselves. I do think that's important to parse out. There are men who intentionally isolate, and they can become very dangerous because they're sort of not wanting accountability, not wanting their bros to yoke them up to say, hey, this is not how you should be leading your home, man. You know, how men talk to men. So that there are men like that, and there are men who are seeking community, but they can't find that. So I would just say the only thing that at least that resonates for me, and that's something that should I have the privilege to marry again, that's something I'm going to look at, this man's community, his circle. And for us as I represent as a believer, you know, is he plugged into his local church? Is he sitting under some leadership? Pastoral leadership, or is he involved in his local church? And is his life in alignment with what he says that he believes, right? Sometimes we can live double lives as well. We show up a certain way at church and we don't let people in. We don't connect. We just sort of high and by, but people don't really get to know us. And so, you know, a lot of this does take faith. A lot of this takes, you know, putting our ego aside to just say, here I am, but also build trust. You know, you don't want to be telling everybody your business, but being able to go to those men's ministries, those men's breakfasts, and kind of fill people out and And if there's a handful of men that you connect with, to lean in there, that you trust, right? And same for women. So that's what I would say. Men needing that community, and for the men who naturally leans towards isolating, we want to, men want to, not move in that way, because us as women, that can be very scary for us, because it's sort of like, who do you go to bounce off thoughts? And I know what that feels like to be isolated and wanting that community for my husband at the time. So it can be very scary for us as women. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Hermisha. We'll see what you all are saying in the chat, but it's true. So, ladies, especially young ladies, allow your man to have his guy time, even if it doesn't make sense to you. As a matter of fact, it shouldn't make sense to you. You should see the way they move and the way they communicate and be like, okay, don't understand, but do your thing, because believe me, they're looking at us the same way. Rodney says, as iron sharpens iron, men test men. You should want a man who surrounds himself with men who are smarter than him. Humility is important to manhood. Absolutely. And Rodney says, yes, we must be careful of people living double lives. We'll go into number 4. I'll give you all a quick story time. We just had Thanksgiving yesterday. And, like I said, I'm a boy mom, but they're teenagers now, both bigger than me. And again, every once in a while, these meenagers, y'all know how they are. And even though divorced, co-parenting really well, but the boys were here with my family yesterday, and my dad, who is over 70, with his apple pie and ice cream, I said something to my youngest, and y'all know how they kind of talk back in a way that's not really, I was getting to it, or whatever. He yelled back. Before I could say anything, you heard that. I can't even do it. Who are you talking to? And I was like the parade and the apron and the apple pie and everything just stopped. And Alex just kind of looked at Grandpa and was like, oh, I messed up. Ladies, men need that. And they check each other in ways that we just can't. So allow them, your boys, your men, to have that bonding experience. All right. Number 4, the network.
Maggie, I just want to say too, that loneliness or being alone. Well, y'all ever watch that movie? What's that movie with Tom Hanks, and he's stuck on the island for like a couple of years? I would look at it like, men need us. We need them. If they don't have somebody watching their back, saying, hey, you need to go get a checkup, you need to check on this. Because think about what moms do for us. Moms stay on top of that. Even when they're little boys. And the reason they need a feminine presence is to help stay on top of that. I've got uncles that never marry, and they're kind of suffering now because if their sisters don't do it, who's going to do it for them? Who's going to take care of you, or who's going to make sure you stay on top of stuff? They need that. I mean, like on that movie with Tom Hanks, he's talking to a volleyball all that time because he didn't have nobody to banter with or anything. And whether it's male or female, people need people, and we need our men, and our men need us. So y'all just got to keep that in mind too. Just a thought.
Absolutely. And Rodney says that movie was Castaway. Thank you so much. Condemn says that Grandpa let that bass out. Yeah, he sure did. We all stopped. It was one of those moments, y'all know, where time stands still and it's like, what's about to go down? All right, number 4 on Kevin's list was the network. And this is similar, but not the same. So acceptance in the group, the way I understand it, is a man and his peers, his wolf pack, his brotherhood, right? And then the network, this was one of the characteristics of a high value man, but I think it applies at all levels, maybe slightly more once you are further on in your career because you've made more connections. But a man should have a connection of people that he can go to for resources, for, recommendations, for connections. I'm kind of thinking like your professional network. I remember in the video, Kevin was talking about a group of men that were high value and someone trying to infiltrate the group. One of the things that the men would be looking for this newcomer, okay, what do you bring to the table as far as, who are you connected to, what industry, what specialty, what are you bringing? You can't be that person, and your man shouldn't be that person. It's just, I'm just here to soak it all up and receive. what does he have that could be valuable to the network? Yes, as high value, but I would think also as a Henry, like, blue collar, white collar, right? You may have white collar men that are really good, like on the business side, but they can't do anything with their hands. That's a great partnership with, I'm sure, our white collar brothers know people in their network. Hey, I got a guy, I can't do it for you, but I can call somebody and he can, lift it, drive it, whatever it is. So I think that's a really important character for a man, especially as he grows in his craft and with time, that he does have a network of people that have other skills other than just that echo chamber of, yeah, we all think the same. What would you say? Would you want to add anything to that one, Lisa?
I think that kind of goes hand in hand for me, at least my answer to the whole group acceptance, because you got a group of people, you stay in touch with them. Some people might fall off during the years, but I know in my husband's profession, you know somebody, they need a job done, like you were speaking of. He might, I worked with him back in whatever year, and then he does this work good or whatever, stuff like that. So I think uh, the network is important, especially in whatever field they're in. But even if they're not in the field, they might know somebody who is, or I work with this person, and this is not my specialty, but this was his, and we got the job done. So I think it goes both ways. But yeah.
All right. What about you, Hermisha? Uh-oh, did we lose Hermisha? Okay, it's frozen for me, so we will come back. Okay, so we'll come back. Beautiful picture to be frozen. What are you all saying here? Jurgen from across the pond says, don't expect men to talk like and act like women. I think this is a big one, ladies. This could be a whole episode, but I will say it until I can't say it anymore. We are not the same. We are equally valued, but we are not equal. Men and women are completely different. I think we're beautiful, but very different roles. So don't look at how they behave amongst themselves and compare it to how women behave and think there's something wrong with men. Go to any barbershop, the way they greet each other, the loud, that's just how men are. Rodney says the brotherhood of men requires meaningful and valuable assets and connections. Absolutely. So we've talked about the network. We'll circle back with Hermisha. Let's go ahead and move on to number 5, visibility. What is visibility? All right. So what Kevin was talking about in this part of the definition of a high value man, that means the income that you make, the job that you have, the career path that you've chosen is visible, above board. He used to call it LinkedIn level. And that just means, ladies, if you have a man who always has money, but you don't know how he got that money, he doesn't really talk about how he got that money. Either he's a trust fund kid or something not, how would you say, above board. You just want to be careful about that. Really careful, ladies. When it comes to visibility, this is something that I think a lot of younger women get caught up in, that fast life, that fast money, that thrill, that bad boy. And it's fun, right? They're spending money, they're moving fast, they got the car, they're wheeling and dealing. That is a very short-lived life. And it could be a very short-lived life, in the body as well. We want you all to win. We want you to have a lifetime of memories and love. And sometimes young women think that stability can be boring, but believe me, as you age, you're going to want that stability. So when Kevin is talking about visibility, are you able to communicate, and is your man able to communicate how he makes a living? Because people are going to ask, what is the first thing? You're at a network event and someone says, hi, my name is Maggie. What is the follow-up? What do you do? Right? So this should be something that's comfortable, and not that you have to tell anybody's business, but if a man is not able to kind of explain clearly what he does for his money, that could be a warning sign. All right, Lisa, what would you add?
Yeah, visibility is important for a lot of ways. I'm like, just to think about it, we spend a lot of energy in tracking people down, finding out where they're at on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, doing all of that, how much he made, where he got that car. You could do it yourself, really, if you're smart about it. Because like nowadays, I wouldn't be caught dating somebody I don't know, going on 3 or 4 dates and be like, still don't know what you do for a living. If you can't explain to me in simple terms and simple English what you do, I'm not, then we need to have another conversation. So I totally agree with what Maggie said and what Kevin was talking about, the visibility. And that's why it's good to have men in your life, because you can let them know, I'm dating this dude and I don't know what he does. It's very vague, whatever. And let your brothers, cousins, dude friends, let them, put 2 and 2 together. Maybe he said something that they might pick up on. That's that men talk. So as far as visibility, it's important for your husband. So once he becomes your husband, it's important for that visibility and being able to, like Maggie said, talk about what he does. Oh, he works here, because you're going to be promoting that man. Your job is to be that visible representation that's saying he's doing good. I'm with him. I'm looking good. I'm keeping myself fit. I mean, all I'm just trying to say is it all kind of works out when you look at the life you want to lead, or you look at how certain people are living their lives and you want that life. You want to be the housewife, or you want to be whatever. You need to know what your husband does, and you can talk about it in conversation, and because that's what women do. We network for our husbands. We also do this for them once they're our husbands and established, but not so much in the girlfriend boyfriend phase. But it is good to know what you're working with. I'll leave it there.
Fantastic. All right. So, Hermisha, we were talking about visibility, but I definitely wanted to loop you in. We were talking about network before. So, how important is it for a man, any man, to have peers that he can kind of collaborate with and pull from? And then the visibility, being able to understand clearly how he supports himself.
Yes, all very important. It all, like, we're all sort of saying the same thing essentially, but the network allows you to assess his usefulness to the group that he's connected to in terms of how they view him. And that's very important. Again, character traits and the visibility, this is important for me, and all of us. A lot of 95% of communication is nonverbal. So even just watching how that man presents himself in terms of on a LinkedIn level, down to your professional photos, down to even, I'm new to this whole dating world. It's kind of scary, y'all. Even down to profile pictures and how people just present themselves, right? How they are visible. It's very telling, in terms of how does a man value himself, right? And when we think about a man leading you, I look at how a man takes care of himself, not just obviously in his work and his who he's surrounded by and his network and his wolf pack, but then also how does he love himself? If he doesn't love himself well, how could he love me? And so, us as women, we got to keep ourselves up health-wise. How does he take care of his health as well? And that's something that a lot of our men, when they're working a lot of hours, sometimes their health can suffer. But all of these things are about how they are visible on a professional level, but then also how they show up in the community or online if they're dating or if they're in a professional corporate world, even down to photos, even down to social media photos. So you have pictures of your kids on your profile. If you're on a professional platform, you want to look at that, right? Or you want to look at your just again, how we're presenting ourselves. So it all is important and is informational even before the man mentions what he does. And again, a lot of this is sort of synonymous or applicable to what us as women, our digital footprint, how we present ourselves here on the Wives Club, how we present ourselves in the community, our visibility. But in this context, Kevin's talking about in terms of your professional visibility, I'm just expanding that relates to just how you appear in general. So still very important.
Absolutely. All right. So we've got one more. What are you all saying here? Shouting out Lisa. Yes, Aaron, Laura, we want to watch out for those unsavory dealings. Rodney says, beware of nefarious earnings and behavior. Yes, ladies, don't get swept up in that, he spends a lot of money on me. Just, not that you're getting anybody's business, but just be aware. Rodney says, yes, men talk has no filter when searching for the truth in order to protect our family and loved ones. Yeah, I think he's responding to what Lisa said about if you don't know, Ask your trusted men, your fathers, your brothers, your uncles. They see things we don't. And Jürgen says, listening is good, but unsolicited advice is not. Okay, I hear you. I don't disagree. I'm trying to connect the dots with what we were talking about. Maybe you remind me because I probably forgot. But thank you, Jürgen. Okay, so the last one was utility to the group. So what does that mean? So all of these, there's kind of a red thread, right? So the caliber of man that you want is not just, ooh, I got googly eyes for him, right? He's so handsome. That's great. But when you're actually choosing somebody in life for long-term or marriage, there are other characteristics, ladies and young ladies, especially if you didn't get this teaching, coming up, make sure that you're vetting properly or having someone help you vet. Okay, so utility, what does that mean? That just means his usefulness. So is your man adding value? I think Kevin used to say to the group and to the community. So to me, is this somebody that people have respect for, whether it's in the ministry or professional or teaching or whatever? Again, to me, it doesn't have to be exclusively high value, but if he's Henry or Hit Squad, what is his personal branding? What is his reputation? Is he admired by people? When you mention his name or when his name comes up, notice how other people respond. Or that, oh, wow, how's he doing? Da, da, da. I heard good things or whatnot. Or is it kind of like, I don't know. And yes, you're going to have people who, are going to be naysayers of your relationship, but is it the exception or is it the rule? You want to choose a man of good character. That was one of the biggest things that Kevin Samuels used to say when he would counsel women. And we would, in our community especially, we get caught up in that 6 feet, 6-figure, 6-pack, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, ladies, when the chips are down and there's an enemy at the gate and he needs to send, the wife and the kids out to survive and fight until his last, you don't care how he hangs in those, how he wears those jeans. You want someone who has the character. If there is not enough for everyone, I will go hungry so that my family can have, so that my wife and children can have. I will sacrifice. I will give up. I will work until I can't work anymore. That is the character of the man. Does he bring something, or is he just waiting to be like, I've arrived. All right, everybody, I'm holding court now. All right. So that's how I interpret utility. Lisa, what would you say?
I'll just tell you what I thought about when Kevin was speaking of this. I started thinking about my life, and I was like, Kevin is talking about, first I was like, what a man does for his family. Also what he does for the community. Like if this man were to, the way I saw it initially is, if this man were to die or is not here anymore, who's going to miss his presence? Whose presence is this going to affect the most? And to me, the man he's talking about is a man who has family, children, a wife, maybe still has a mother in his life. Those kind of people are going to miss what he brings or what he does for the family or brings to the table. Because to me, I just started thinking about this is basically, think about it. If you have a husband or you want a husband, if he's not present anymore, how would you feel? What's going to happen to your life? Hopefully he's taking care of things so well that even though he's gone and there's that emotional hurt, there won't be a big financial hurt. You can rest assured that you're taken care of. And like me, if you were someone whose father gave them away, these are the reasons, these are the things that Kevin was talking about, that a father who should be judging for you, or a man in your life, that's what we've been talking about, should say, yeah, this man's going to take care of my daughter, or, or my niece, or my whoever, my granddaughter, and I'm going to give them the protection of you, the covering of you in marrying you. So I said that because, a lot of young ladies and older ladies don't have that. And so I think when you think about this question, that's what hit home to me. And yes, he's a virtue to the community and those he served or who he served. So those will all be important things. So that's the way I took this question. It may not be correct, but for me, that's how it hit. So I'm going to leave it there.
All right, and we will close out with Hermisha. So, what does it mean to you, his utility to the group and the community?
Just his usefulness, just again, the core of who he is. He's valued, he's needed. We need our men. At the end of the day, this is what we represent here as the Wives Club. We love our men, and so we understand that really we can't survive without our men. So his presence in the home is very much so important, being very intentional in child rearing. His usefulness and his presence on his job and his community is just all important. The man is valuable. And so, that's the main thing I would echo. I mean, that we need solid men, leaders. We as wives need you, our children need you, the community needs you, and that's all I have to say about that.
I think it is beautifully said, ladies. Rodney is asking, does the man in your life have a spirit of giving back to the community? We should all want someone who has a spirit of abundance versus lack. So, ladies of any age, but young ladies especially, I don't have daughters, so I really have a heart for the young women. Hopefully, you are able to glean from those of us who have been married, are married, and realize the things that last over time. We were all young once, and we all will age, and we want you to age and be happy and age gracefully and choose wisely. So yes, I would agree. A man who is a man of character, there's something in him that does want to teach and give back. So start looking for those things in addition to all the other things that make you smile. So that is it for today's episode of the Wives Club. Now, next week, I'm actually traveling next week, so we will post the Strength Finders. We have a video queued up for you all, but the first Friday of every month, the Kevin Samuels channel posts a new video. So we always want you all to support Kevin's stream. So I'll keep an eye on when that's scheduled. I think it's usually around 9 p.m. So we kind of move a little bit because we want to be in the chat with you. So it's always the first Friday of the month, and next week is December 1st. So we'll all be watching Kevin Samuels' December stream. Even though he is gone, his message still lives on. Thank you so much, Rodney. Thank you for the support. And Jay Bird III, I know you weren't able to join today, but thank you so much for the super chat that came in before we streamed. He said, I can't stay for the stream, so I send my post Thanksgiving best to the Wives Club. Amidst all the contention between men and women, I'm thankful to you for creating a positive space where women can learn from Kevin Samuels' ideas and from your own experiences. This is our heart to give back. So we have a new episode for you, one from the vault before we got to YouTube. So we will share that next week as long as it doesn't conflict with the Kevin Samuel stream. And then we will be back live the following Friday, December 8th. So you all stay safe. I know it's Black Friday. A lot of y'all are out shopping, and enjoy the time with your family. We will see you on the next episode of the Wives Club. Thank you all so much for being here. Until next time.